So we will go ahead and get started. First of all, good evening to everyone, and thank you all for joining our Hockinson Meadows Community Park Disc Golf Course Open House. Before we get started, I'd like to go over some key items. This is a recorded meeting. We will not be recording any cameras or chats, but the presentation and the audio will be recorded. We'll post the recorded presentation on our project website by Friday, so you'll be able to refer back to the presentation on our website. Once our presentations have concluded, we'll follow up with a question and answer session. As you can probably tell, everyone will be muted for the entire presentation. And then once we go to our question and answer session, you'll be able to raise your virtual hand, and we'll call on you and request that you unmute in order to ask an audible question. We do also request that you raise your virtual hand, and I do think that we have a slide for that. You'll be able to find your name in the participant list, and you might need to hover a little bit, but you'll find a hand symbol on there. You can click on the hand in order to raise your virtual hand. Another option is you can find the reaction button at the bottom of your screen on the lower right hand corner. You might need to scroll down a little bit to find it, but you can click that button and there's a raised hand option or icon that will come up just above the reaction button. So we'll call on those who have their virtual hand raised. And I do see that several people have joined over the phone. So if you do have a question, you can also press *3 to raise your virtual hand, and then we'll call on you and request that you unmute. Our chat feature is enabled, so if you do think of a question during the presentation, you can go ahead and type it in and send it through. We'll either answer it on the chat or we'll read it out loud during the question and answer session. We have several Clark County Public Works team members, so we'll be able to answer those questions. And are you guys able to hear me? Okay. I just got a message that someone can't hear, so they might be having some technical difficulties. So we are considerate of everyone's time, so we will adhere to our time frame. We will not go past the 6:30 mark. We might be able to end a little earlier, but we won't go past 6:30. Email addresses will be provided at the end of the presentation and will be available on our project website as well. And then tomorrow or the day after, you might be receiving a Title VI and a comment form. Those are voluntary forms, but if you would like to fill those out and return them to us, they are voluntary. And we will go ahead and get started. Troy is our project manager for this project.
Okay. Oh, I guess, Cindy, this was another one. Some of the things that Cindy covered.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Well, my name is Troy Pierce. I'm a project manager for Clark County Public Works, and I am working on this project. I took it over in the middle of last year to put it out to bid, and so have been working on that, and wanted to spend some time here and go over the project and just kind of let people know what it is, starting with an overview, and then we'll get into some more details. And I have the number of questions. I'll try to address those as I go along. Hopefully they're answered in some of the information, and also at the end. And then, like Cindy said, there'll be a question and answer period at the end. So a project overview. This project is an 18-hole disc golf course, but it also is more than that. It includes an additional 1 mile of additional hard and soft trails that go around the golf course, completely around the golf course. There's a 50-foot pedestrian bridge that makes these trails and the golf course accessible from the rest of the developed park, and the rest of the trail system. And there's also a 225-foot square square foot shelter that it will be constructed just across near the pedestrian bridge, is accessible by all. So, there's been a lot of focus on the golf course. It is the disc golf course. It does have that, but there are also amenities that can be enjoyed by all of the park users, and not just disc golfers, although that is a significant element of the project. It's not entirely the only element. So I want to get into a little bit of the project history. Parks owns and operates a wide variety of outdoor recreation opportunities. Disc golf is not currently one of them, and so the 2015 Parks and Recreation and Open Space Plan that was adopted identified disc golf as a specialized recreation facility that was not serving Clark County, or was underserving Clark County, and it was something that was desired by residents. There were many motivated participants throughout the greater Clark County area that were interested in seeing disc golf courses occur, and worked with the county in the development of this plan. There were 2 locations identified earlier. This is 8 or so years ago now. Frenchman's Bar was a location that was initially identified, and it was intended to serve the West Clark County. It was decided that that area should be preserved for habitat for migrating bird species that were utilizing the adjacent National Wildlife Refuge. And so that one has dropped off the table. The Hockinson Meadows Park, this one, was approved by the council in November 2016. The Parks Division worked with the disc golf community, the public, and the Parks Advisory Board to identify this location, which is intended to serve Central Clark County. So that is again, the location that we'll be discussing and talking about tonight. That initial concept of the Hockinson course was a lot different than it is now. The course was going to be designed by the local disc golf community. There was a cost of an estimated $70,000 in public funds for permitting fees. Donations were being gathered to assist with disc golf courses. That included some baskets and some tiles. There were no trails or bridges or structures in that initial scope, and there was no link from that 40 acres, the North 40 of Hockinson there, no link to the developed area of the park. And there is more information on that proposal on Parks website. But it has morphed, the project has morphed significantly since then. And the development of detailed design and plans and design began in earnest in 2018, were completed in early 2020. There was an initial project manager who managed the project through the design process before I took it over. Construction was put on hold in early 2020 due to the pandemic, as were a lot of things during that time. And then construction was authorized again in mid 2021 to go ahead and take that design and prepare the bidding package and advertise the project for construction. So some of the scope changes that occurred from that initial 2016 include the pedestrian bridges that were added to provide a link to the trails and to the course. There were at one point up to 3 considered, including a point near Urban Oaks, but those have been dropped. Only one pedestrian bridge remains in the plans, and that's at the creek crossing over near, I don't know if my cursor is visible or not, but over near the playground area of the existing Hockinson Park. So there's nothing further away than that area near the playground area. A covered structure was added at the beginning of the trail system and the disc golf course, and design input continued to be sought from the local disc golf community, and it met in order to meet PDGA, which is the Professional Disc Golf Association standards. Trails were added around the disc golf course, and then the county retained an architectural engineering firm to formalize the design and make sure that it complied with environmental regulations, and also to design the structures that have been added, the pedestrian bridge and the covered structure. And because of these additional features, we had to go do a well, the construction will be by a licensed bonded insured contractor to construct these and to build the project. Maintenance, there is ongoing work with regarding volunteers being involved in maintenance, and that is being spearheaded by the Parks Division. Funding sources. This project is being paid for by park impact fees and also by real estate excise tax. The park impact fees are levied against development and are kind of, there's also traffic impact fees. It's kind of related, where there's an amount that's levied on all developments or developments that trigger that, and so that creates a funding source where these kinds of improvements can be made. The engineer's estimate for construction, so it's significantly higher than that initial 70,000. It's at 455,000. Some of the main items in that construction estimate are the disc golf course site furnishing, that's the tees and the benches and the baskets, the trails themselves, the surfacing for that, some of which is specialized because of the wetlands nearby, the pedestrian bridge, the covered shelter, planting and establishment, a lot of that in conjunction with the wetland permitting and the impacts and mitigation to those areas, and then some of the other costs just associated with running a construction project, mobilization, surveying data, and erosion control. And there are a few other small items that I don't think these numbers here will add up to the 455. There's some other smaller bid items, but there's a long list of bid items that I didn't go through and show everybody. So some project details. The 18-hole disc golf course, as I mentioned, is designed to meet the official PDGA standards. It's located on the 40 acres north of the existing park playground. Again, Parks and Lands partnered with community golf, disc golf enthusiasts to bring the course to fruition. There is parking for the lot is not additional with this project. It's the existing parking lot that is just south of the playground area. How you would access the playground area is how you would be able to get to this these trails and this facility. And here's another slide that shows that the parking lot area. So the disc golf area up here in this bold dotted line, and then the parking lot area which is existing at the improved park. There will be the elements for each hole will include a tee pad, a hole marker, a bench, and a basket. And this is kind of the layout at each hole. There will be if you look on the left, that's the tee pad with the concrete blocks in the center rectangle, and then sand and gravel filled. Both of these are eco-grid, but then they're filled with sand and gravel outside of that concrete area, which is, as I understand, the kind of the launching pad. The concrete area with the concrete blocks is kind of the launching pad to throw the disc, and then some area around it to support. And then you can see there's two views here. One's from the top. You can see up at the top of the plan view, there's a hole marker and a bench, and you can see what that looks like also on the right from ground level, where there's the hole marker and the bench, and the basket is then off to the right, some yards away. So just some details on the tee pad. This design was selected because of wetland considerations. There's a couple of different types of installation. A typical one where it's got more crushed surfacing or more gravel, and it's graded a little more. And there's also some areas that are more sensitive, where there's no grading, and the gravel is put down over the top for leveling, and then the eco-grid and the concrete blocks will come after that. There is a discussion, or there has been unaware for me anyway, that concrete is a more durable surface, but there are issues with the sensitive areas that I believe were involved in making the decision to go this route. The hole marker, just kind of the front view there, side view. It's just going to be a detail that goes along each or at each location, telling the disc golf player where they are. A bench, again, nothing fancy, but these will be installed at each hole, and a place to sit down while playing. And then the basket, which will catch the golf or the disc at the end of the hole. And these are laid out around those 40 acres. And I think, I don't know if I have any after this, but like similar to what was shown earlier in the presentation. The trails, there was two types of trails. There's a hard trail and a soft trail. And that's because of the wetland and some of the sensitive areas. So when you come across the bridge at the lower right, as you go to the right, you'll see and up the right side and across the top, those are soft trails. They're 4 or 6 feet wide. They're made of engineered wood fiber surfacing, and I did not get into the specs any further than that, but it is a product that is usable in a wetland buffer area. The hard surface is crushed stone surfacing, and that will extend down the left side of this parcel and along the bottom and back over to the pedestrian bridge. These trails, again, they connect to the pedestrian bridge and extend around the entire golf course. And via the pedestrian bridge, they link to the rest of the trail system and add another mile to the trails of Hockinson Community Park. The pedestrian bridge provides access to the disc golf course. It provides access to that new trail. It crosses an unnamed tributary to China Ditch that flows to the east and into China Ditch. It's located, like we talked earlier, or north of the existing playground structure. It's 50 feet long. It's pre-manufactured, so it's going to come in one, I think in one piece, and it's 50 feet long to clear the 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 water line and avoid impact to the stream. It looks like it's 6 feet wide and 4 feet, 4 foot high above the deck. And there it is, a little bit bigger than that previous slide. Oh, one thing with the you see the lines that go down from the abutments, the helical pile, those are driven in or installed to support the bridge. The soils out there, and I wasn't involved through the design, but the soils are quite soft, and so those are designed to support the bridge in those soft soils. And then the shelter, it's 225 square feet, and it's located here. If you look at this is kind of what it looks like. It's just an open shelter, and with columns and cantilever overhang. And if you look at the bottom one, north is to the right, or excuse me, to the left. And so you'd come across the bridge, and a little bit to the east, to your right, would be that the pedestrian shelter, or the shelter there at the part. It can be used. Somebody walking the trail can take a break there. If there are disc golf events, it can be used there. So it's a kind of an all-purpose drew a blank on the word I was going to use, but an all-purpose use. And here's a little bit bigger of that previous slide with the shelter up in the lower, or up the upper left corner. So some other project information. This project will serve all the park users. It is funded, so costs are not going to increase for people that are using the park. There is existing wire fencing around the project parcel, and that will remain in place. There's very little fencing in the contract bid, just enough to, if it's like it's moved some for the bridge or temporary access or something like that. The pass-through portion, we can get to this. I have a comment for parks after that. And I'm not aware that it's proceeding, but they can confirm after the meeting. The operating hours, or after the presentation, I should say. The operating hours for the disc golf course are the same as the park hours. And if there's a violation of that after hours use, they can call law enforcement. And these are not in necessarily any order. They're just kind of some additional information. The tributary to China Ditch will remain as it is, and it will be traversed by the new pedestrian bridge. The approved design, when that was accomplished, met conditions of environmental permitting laws and requirements. There was a question about endangered species, and so that would have been addressed in that design process. The contractor is Tapani Inc. of Battleground, and we have had the pre-con a week ago, I guess. And so their scheduled start date by contract is May 2, and that's a lot, in large portion, because it's just the soils are wet, and it needs some time to. It probably won't be totally dry still by May 2, but at least it gives some of the spring to dry out. And completion is estimated to be in mid-October, and part of that length is because of longer procurement times for some of the steel in either the structure or the bridge, just with the environment that is the pandemic. It's probably affected all of us in different ways in terms of what's available and when. And that is not any different in the construction industry. Here's some contact information. I'm the project manager, kind of shepherding this through at this point. When it does get into construction, I kind of take a second seat. That the construction manager will be Michael Tracy. And he is the one who runs the contract and the field work with the contractor. Parks representative is Lindy. They're the second one down, and the county's or the department's communications manager is Kaylee there also. So all of us are available to answer questions that you may have, and that is the end of my
Can I
formal
just say,
presentation.
thank you, Troy. My email address was mistyped in that last slide, so I'll just type it into the chat.
Okay. Oh, yes. I have an L-I instead of L-Y. Is that what you're noting?
Yes. No
Yes,
problem.
okay. My apologies. Yes, it's L-Y there.
Thank you, Troy. We'll go ahead and fix the slideshow before we post it on our website as well. So thank you all, and thank you for your presentation. We did get a couple of questions on our chat, but they were answered. So if anybody else has any other questions, that now is the time to raise your virtual hand. Again, you can go on the participant list, find your name, and hover to find your hand, or you can find the go to the reaction area at the bottom of your screen and click raise hand option. If you're on the phone, you can do *3 to raise your virtual hand. I do have Jessica, and I'm going to go ahead and request that she unmute to ask her question. Go ahead, Jessica.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just making sure. So I kind of heard that this project had been proposed, but hadn't heard that it was kind of getting a resurgence. So I'm just kind of getting up to speed, and I just really appreciate this presentation and just kind of understanding the project. I personally don't have a problem with disc golf, but I do want to ensure the natural beauty of the park is maintained. It's really what makes that park just such an important treasure to our community. I live a mile away, and we take our dog and our toddler and my parents for walks there multiple times a week. I guess I just kind of had 3 questions, and maybe just for the sake of efficiency, I'll just kind of put them out there, and you can kind of respond as appropriate. So I think the first question I had was just kind of asking if the Hockinson community has been surveyed regarding their interest, and if this is the best use of $500,000. It sounds like there is a strong disc golf community, but I just want to make sure that everybody is being surveyed and not specifically just the disc golf community. My second question is, I heard that there's a park, I'm probably going to mispronounce this, Leverage Park. I've never been there, but I heard that they have disc golf and they have problems with needles and transients and crime. So I just kind of want to make sure that that's not like correlated in any way. And then finally, just asking if you've done an assessment on the parking lot. So we do have like baseball games and soccer games and all sorts of events during the nicer months, but I'm not sure sort of like what assessment has been done regarding the volume that the disc golf will generate, including any events. So I think that was kind of my thoughts there. Again, I'm not like anti-disc golf, but I just feel very strongly that whatever we do, we need to just really ensure that we protect the natural beauty of Hockinson Park.
Yeah, I think and I think the design, again, I've been involved in the construction. I do know that I don't know if our designer is on the call or not, but just by looking at the plans and how it kind of meanders, some of the trails, how they meander around, that one slide that kind of showed the wetland buffers and the wetland areas, and the trails meander around that, and the holes do too. I think that was a key consideration in the design of the park to maintain and minimize impact to existing to what was out there. So I wanted to just make that comment, because I think that you know, I'm not I'm probably, maybe I'm speaking for park staff, but the maintenance of natural beauty where possible is I think
Right.
one of the things that we try and do. So yes, Rocky.
Not to interrupt, I apologize, but WSP, who was our consultant for the design, is online, and they could maybe answer some of those technical design questions for us.
Yeah, hi Troy, this is Ryan with WSP. A couple things. First of all, we tried really hard to maintain all of the natural elements and beauty of Hockinson Park that makes Hockinson Park what it is. We're not proposing to take any trees out. We worked really hard with the Clark County Environmental Permitting Team to maintain habitat areas and wetland areas, and really try to maintain the beauty and natural elements of Hockinson Park. Second, I think that I am very familiar with Leverage Park and the problems that Leverage Park has. There are problems with homeless populations in Leverage Park. There are problems with needles and drugs and everything else associated with that. However, I think for the most part, disc golf use actually helps with having people in the park, having eyes on the park, and helping to control that a little bit, especially during daytime hours, when people are there and seeing, just having people in the park helps to move some of that use out of that area. Leverage Park is, it's downtown Vancouver. It's always for a long time has had problems with homeless people sleeping and camping and doing all kinds of illicit activities. So I think having more people in the park and eyes there actually helps with that. And I apologize, I forget the last comment that you had that I was going to respond to.
The parking lots
I think
being sized appropriately.
Yes, we did do a parking study for the disc golf use and we had traffic engineers looking at roadways and parking, and that was all permitted through Clark County, and they determined that there was enough parking, especially on the eastern side of the park.
Thank you, Ryan.
Did get a question from Doug. What type of baskets are being purchased? Anyone have an answer to that one?
I would have to look in the contract specifications. I don't know off the top of my head. Maybe, I don't know if Ryan, if you do, if we specified a specific type or if we had specifications that we wanted to be met and various manufacturers could meet them, and then it would be up to contractor to find the best deal.
The disc golf baskets, it was a performance spec, so they are required to be tournament level disc golf baskets. So they're the highest quality baskets that are available to meet those professional tournament level qualifications for the baskets.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I can't hear you,
Sorry.
Cindy.
Sorry, when is it playable?
Well, it would be when I think when the construction is done, which currently is mid-October, so it would not be available through this summer. Again, some of that depends on when the contractor can actually get some of the materials, but he's given us a schedule based on what he has at the moment, and it's putting it at mid-October for completion.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question. Are they ever going to assign a street name to the road going into the park?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I've not heard of one in the works. I think isn't the park's address off of 172nd? So that may be like the address point.
Well, the Clark County Atlas is not listed for it. Google Maps has it as 109th Street, which happens to be by driveway, so it's not 109th Street. It's really confusing.
Yeah, I could see that if it's showing it as your driveway. You're muted, Cindy, if you're.
Go ahead.
Yes, I just had a couple of questions. First of all, thanks for moving forward with the project. It's been a long time coming, and we really appreciate seeing it finally come to fruition at this point. But a couple of questions I had. You were talking about the eco blocks. I know that on some courses those eco blocks have had real problems shifting and creating trip hazards. How are we going to address that with these if we're going to use them here? And the other question I had was on signage. Signage is a very important thing for ease of use of the course. And are we going to have like directions to the next hole on each sign and things like that? And are we going to have a whole course map available at maybe the shelter or something like that?
Ryan, you may have some input on this as well, but I think that, and I when I look at the plans, I know there is a full course sign, a large one. I can't remember exactly where its placement is. That addresses at least, I think, that full course question. And I haven't looked at the layout enough to know if there's signs to the next one or how people know that. Ryan, do you recall?
Yeah, there's a whole signage package that goes with this. There's a course map at the if you go straight over the bridge to the trail system, that it's kind of a welcome sign with a full course map there that shows the whole course, and then there's a sign for each hole as well.
Okay.
Doug had another.
Yeah, and my other question was on the eco blocks. What are we doing to mitigate the fact that those things do shift?
Right. The eco blocks that we have, they are proposed to lock together all of the entire box interlocks with each other so that it limits that, and there'll be staking for each of those. The main reason we went with those eco blocks was because quite a bit of that course, again, we're keeping we're not impacting wetlands or habitat, although some of the tee boxes are located in the buffer of those areas, so we couldn't have any impermeable surfaces. So these eco blocks were the only way that we could allow a disc golf course in those buffer areas. So they will have a base, excuse me, a base under each one with gravel and crushed rock, and they're interlocking, and they have the stakes. So those are all intended to help mitigate those the movement of those tee boxes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Some courses install a secure drop container for lost discs found and turned in by others, checked periodically. Has that been considered?
That has not been considered to date. That is a good idea and something that we can look into the future.
Don't see any other hands, so giving a few. Oh, Jessica has another question.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat. I think the outstanding question I had was whether the Hockinson community at large had been surveyed. I mean, again, I don't really have anything against disc golf, but I just want to make sure that this isn't just sort of a pet project, and that the Hockinson community really has a say in kind of the best use of this park. So have you surveyed Hockinson taxpayers?
This is Rocky. I'll answer as what I know, and I apologize because I've not been here the entire length of this project. So this project goes back to 2015 when we did the parks recreation, the pros plan, the park recreation open space plan. Then out of that process, which was a county-wide survey and several public meetings, that's where this need was identified, and that's where then we move forward in trying to identify locations. So I can't speak to in the last, since this project was kicked off through the planning process, what that was specifically, but I know that's where this started from and how it's been moved. And with COVID-19, that has delayed the implementation from when this was moved forward to today, where we're actually getting to construction.
Would it be possible to find out the details of the 18 holes, for example, length of each?
I'm sure we have that somewhere. I don't have it available for right now, but I think we could probably get a diagram. Maybe Ryan has something, or we can work with Ryan to find that out, or to
Yeah, we do have that information, Troy, and I just want to point out as well that we work closely with the Vancouver disc golf community to help us design and lay out each of the holes to best facilitate the disc golf experience. So there's a variety of holes, lengths, locations, and difficulties. So it helps maintain interest and playability for the disc golfers over time.
good. Thank you.
Oh, how will you ensure that a frisbee? Actually, let me scroll. I'm so sorry. Okay, how will you ensure a frisbee does not hit a child with proximity to the playground or joggers?
This is Rocky. The course is laid out a significant distance away from the playground. So and the play is away from it. In regards to the joggers around the course, you know, this isn't a new design. I've worked with other park systems that have had these integrated, and it's just it's courtesy essentially. So again, being aware, users being aware how they're playing, and having just like with ball golf in Portland, where they've got a trail around that course, the same sort of ethics is utilized for that. And I'll give it over to Lindy or someone else for further information.
Rocky, this is Ryan again. I would add that we also not only looked at that, but we looked at discs flying into the roadway on 119th. You know, and we wanted to protect cars and players as well from having to go out into the road. So we did locate the disc golf holes away from the roadway so that it would limit any exposure to that as well.
I'm not seeing any hands, so I'm just waiting a few seconds here, see if anyone else has any questions. Okay. I am not seeing any other virtual hands, and I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. So, I mean, we can end this meeting early if we don't have any further questions. Like I mentioned previously, this is a recorded meeting, so you are also able to go back to our project website here in the next couple of days and find the recording. We will also have the PowerPoint presentation available on the website with the Clark County Public Works employees that were in attendance at this meeting. So if you do have any further questions, you can contact them directly. And alrighty, well then I will go ahead and let everyone go and continue about their day. And thank you all for attending our open house this evening.